Okay, grade 10s. I'm going to do this a little bit strangely. Okay, grade 10s, I'm going to do this a little bit strangely. Um, because this unit is exactly the same for both pre-dip and FOM 10, I'm just going to do one video. So for pre-dip 10, in your books, I can't remember what color your book is. This is the pre-dip 10 book. This is pages 117 to 109. If you are in FOM 10, now this is block B, this is block D. If you are in FOM 10, this is page 106 to 108. All right, so I'm just going to do it that way. So we're skipping most of this unit this year because most of it you will learn in other classes or it gets redone next year kind of anyway. But this last bit of that unit is important going forward because it's a new way that we write down equations and all your future classes are going to use it. So I want you to see it now. So we are going to learn what is called function notation. Now, function notation simply is based on a new way of writing this. Now, if we were in the 9th grade and I told you to make a table of values, which is right over here, which some of you, of course, call a T-chart, if I asked you to make this, what would you do? Well, you would take these X numbers, and these are our inputs, and you would put them everywhere you see an X. So, the first one, Y, would equal 1/2 of X, which is -2, minus 2. 1/2 of -2 is -1, minus 2 is -3. So y would equal -3. Right there, y equals -3. There is a y spot. This is your output. And then you would do that with each of these. Now, in order to save time, I'm just going to do these in my head. So, 1/2 times 0 is 0. 0 minus 2 is -2. 1/2 times 1 is 1/2. Minus 2 is -1.5. Half of 4 is 2. 2 minus 2 is 0. So, what we have there is we are used to seeing X and Y. But now this right here, which is our output, we write it differently. And we write it like this. F of X equals 1/2 X minus 2. This is your output. And we read that read as F of X. The F is the name. Now, the reason we do this is because if we have more than one equation and we write y equals 1/2 X minus 2, y equals 6x minus 2, y equals 5x plus 4, and I tell you x equals 3, where do you put that? You could put it into any one of these, but then you would get a bunch of different y values. So what we do instead is we name these. This guy is f of x. This guy would be g of x. And this one might be h of x. And then over here, I would tell you I want the f of 3. So that 3 will go into which one of these? I'll wait a second for you to think of it. It would go into the red one. So I would have the f of 3 equals half of 3 minus 2. Then if I wanted the g of 4, that would be, it would go right here, 6 times 4 minus 2. And then if I wanted the h of negative 1, it would be 5 times negative 1 plus 4. The h tells you where to put it. This value tells you it goes everywhere you see x. So let's try that right here. I have my function. Remember, this behaves the exact same way as y equals 2x minus 7. So, but we don't have a y, we have f of x. So I want the f of 2. Now you can see that in the function named f, the x value is now 2. So 2x is now 2. So I write 2 there, minus 7. 2 times 2 is 4, minus 7 is negative 3. So the f of 2 equals negative 3. Now, how would I put that on a graph? Well, the x is now a 2. So in my ordered pair, x is 2, and y, which is my output, is negative 3. So I would go to positive 1, positive 2, and down 1, 2, 3. And there is my dot. Now I'm going to do it over here. I want the f of negative 3 this time. So I find the function with the same name, f and f. X is now negative 3. So if I write it out completely, f of x equals 2x minus 7. But I don't want the f of x. I want the f of negative 3. So that x has become a negative 3. So that negative 3 becomes that x. 2 times negative 3 minus 7, which is negative 6, minus 7, which means the f of negative 3 is negative 13. And, of course, x, y, negative 3, negative 13, negative 1, 2, 3, and then way down here at negative 13. That's all there is to it, but you're going to see this written a lot more now. So we're going to practice with it. So here I have a new function. It's named g. So I write out g of x equals negative 2/3 x plus 1. And now I just got to put those values in here. So I'm going to use red, blue, and green. So I want the g of 6. So the g of 6, that x has become a 6, so that 6 becomes an x. Negative 2 over 3 times 6 plus 1. That's negative 12. 2 times 6 over 3 plus 1. That's negative 4 plus 1. That's negative 3. So my x value was 6, and my y value was negative 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3. And I put my red dot right there. Everybody cool, I hope. G of negative 3 this time. So I don't want the g of x. I want the g of negative 3. Negative 2/3, not x, negative 3 plus 1. Negative 3 and 3 cancel. 3 and 3 cancel. Negative and negative cancel. And I'm left with 2 plus 1, which is 3. So negative 3 is my x, and positive 3 is my y. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And then the green one. The green one's pretty easy because x is 0. So I want the g of 0 becomes negative 2/3 times 0 plus 1. 2/3 times 0 is 0 plus 1, 1. So my x was 0, my y was 1. 0, 1. Now, there we have our line. Now, we already know that this line will go on forever, like this, right? So, I am now asking you to find an x value if we know a y value. This is an output, so it's a y value. Now you can find this answer in two ways. You can find it with algebra, and you can find it on the graph. We're going to do both. We're going to do the graph one first because we just finished graphing it. Now, you can see that this goes up 2 over 3, up 2 over 3, up 2 over 1, 2, 3. Right? Now, right there is y equals 7. There's the dot. I need the x value when y is 7. Well, there it is right there. 6, 7, 8, 9. Negative 9. Now, if I'm going to do that with algebra, we know our function is gx equals negative 2/3 x plus 1. Now, read that. That says g of x equals 7. Well, right there you see g of x. So the whole thing, g of x, equals 7. So here we write that as 7 equals negative 2/3 x plus 1. Then we just do algebra. Minus 1 minus 1. 6 equals negative 2/3 x. Multiply this side by negative 3 to get rid of the negative sign and the 3. Multiply this side by negative 3. Negative 18 equals 2x. Divide by 2. X equals negative 9. And you can see that we have the same answer. Okay, so let's do this one, but we'll just use algebra, because we're going to do a lot of graphing practice in the next unit. So let's just practice the algebra. So here is my function m of x. I want the m of 7. So I want the m of 7, not the m of x. So that was x, but now it's 7. 4 over 3 times x, but it's not x anymore. What is it? 7 plus 2. 7 times 4 is 28 over 3 plus 2. Now, you all know that I can't add those, so that becomes 28 over 3 plus 6 over 3, because that is 6 over 3. So that's 34 over 3, which is 11 1/3. Now, the other way you could look at that is you could have said, I'm going to erase all this, this is 9 1/3 plus 2. 9 plus 2 is 11 1/3. Doesn't matter how you think about it. But now I know x was 7, and what's y? 11 1/3. So let's try it here with 1. M, we don't want the m of x anymore. We want the m of 1. So 4/3, not of x, 4/3 of 1 plus 2. That is 4/3 plus 2, which is, of course, 6/3. So that's 4/3 plus 6/3 to get 10/3, which is 3 1/3. The other option, of course, is to go to here and say that is 1 1/3 plus 2. 1 plus 2 is 3 1/3. Again, it doesn't matter how you do it. You know the x value was 1, and you know the y value is 3 1/3. And lastly, this one's different. How is it different? I'm going to take a moment for you to think about that. In this one, you see we don't know x. M of x equals 4/3 x plus 2. I know that m of x is 5. So this right here, this whole thing, because the m is part of it, 5 equals 4/3 x plus 2. Now I solve for x because I don't have an x value. Minus 2 minus 2, 3 equals 4/3 x times by 3 to get rid of the fraction. 9 equals 4x. X equals 9/4. So then, if x is 9/4, 9/4 and 5. Those are the same things. Okay, so here's another one. I'm going to work through it. You guys should try it first. So I'll pause. I realize there's no need for me to pause. But you should pause the video now and try these and make sure you're doing them right. Because right now is when I would turn off the video in class. I would get you to try them and then check your work. So pause the video and then try these. I'll do that one in black. I'll do that one in red. I'll do that one in blue. So h of 2 equals negative 1/4. It was an x, now it's a 2, minus 4. Negative 2/4 minus 4, which is negative 1/2 minus 4, which is negative 4.5. So there's my x, there's my y, 2 and negative 4.5. Then we'll do the red one. Negative 2 equals negative 1/4 times, not x anymore because it's negative 2 minus 4. So that's now positive 1/2 minus 4, which is negative 3.5. So it is negative 2 and negative 3.5. And lastly, remember this one is different. I know all of h of x. I don't know x. So I have h of x equals negative 1/4 x minus 4. This side is negative 4. I don't know x because you can see it's still blank there. So then I just solve it. Plus 4 on both sides, bring that over. or plus 4, whatever works for you. 0 equals negative 1/4 x. And then, of course, x has to equal 0. And my ordered pair is 0 and negative 4. So all of you should have been able to do that. Now, that was all algebra. Let's try it with the graph. Excuse me. So, this one is f of x, and this one is g of x. So, let's have a look here. F of negative 3. So am I looking at the blue line or the black line? Take a moment. Of course, I'm looking at the blue line because it is f of x. And this is an x value. So I want to find where x, we're using blue, x equals negative 3. So here I am. Oh, I did this backwards. Sorry, everyone. What an idiot. The black one is f of x, and the blue one is g of x. Sorry about that. So f of x is negative 3. So I want to find where x equals negative 3 on the black curve because it's the f curve. So where is negative 3? Right there. That's my x value. Now I need to find a y value that goes with that. If I look down here, there it is right there. And then I just check it. So when the f is negative 3, the f of negative 3 equals negative 2. So I'm going to erase that because this graph is going to get busy. And now I want the g of 0. So I want to know where x equals 0. Well, here's where x equals 0. But now I'm looking on the blue curve because I'm looking at g. So I go up, and there it is right there. So the g of 0 equals 2. Now, black or blue? Take a moment, think about it. Of course, you know it is black because it is the f. So x equals negative 2. So I go to negative 2, and I look down, and there it is, right there. The f of negative 2 equals negative 3. And everybody should be good with the x's. Okay, let's try 2 more real quick. Tell me the g of 3 and the f Try 1/2 and see what you come up with. So for the g of 3, I would go out to 3, I would go down, and it would be right there, negative 1. For the f of 1/2, I would go out to 1/2, and I'd go all the way up, and I'd hit right there. Now, because we don't know exactly if that's a half, we have to say that's approximately 3. Everybody should be good. Now, what happens if we reverse it? Is this giving me an x? Because it's the f of x. Is it giving me a black x or a black y? Well, x is still x, so this must be a y value. So now I just go up to here, and I see that my y value is 1. So the only spot that there's a y value of 1 is right there when x equals 0. So x equals 0. Now, g of x equals 3. We've already done the g of 3, but this is the g of x equals 3. So if this is an x or a y value, which is it? Again, it's a y value. So I go up to 3, and I find where the blue line is. It's right there. So I check, and it's -1. And this time, g of 4, that is an x value. So I go out to 4 and down, and I find the g of 4 equals -2. Now, I want to mess with you a little bit. Try the f of x equals -2. Try that one. So we remember that as a y value. So I go down to -2 on the f of x, which is the black curve, and I go out and I see, oh, there it is right there. It's -1. But look what happens here. I get it again. It's also -3. Okay, grade 10s, your job is to, as always, try a few of these pages. Now, we haven't done this whole unit, so I need to be a little careful here. So you will notice these. Let's see, what do I need you to do? You know what? You don't need to do anything tonight, grade 10s. You just have to know this, because it's going to be used in the next unit. So your only job today was to have watched the video. No work. Okay? We will see you again for a lesson on Wednesday. And if you want to join my Google meeting tomorrow, I will be sending you that invitation to your Learn 34 accounts. Your meeting tomorrow will be at 9 and again at 2. Okay? I don't expect many of you will need it yet, but I will be there if you want. Okay? Bye, guys.